Hey guys, hey, at least we have power as we're coming to today's shave. Same gear as usual since we're in Austere August, and I am participating in that little group activity. The B35 from Zenith. This is a special color and engraving from our wet shaving group custom order that we did. A timeless stainless steel razor, the 68 gap open comb. And it's going to be holding the Nacet blade. I believe I forgot to put a dot yesterday, so I think today is 506, but the description, the title of the video will have the correct use count number. Chiseled Face Midnight Stag. This is an older label, older packaging, but it's the same great scent. And the donut keeps getting wider. I'm using the splash for that, as well as the cologne. Love the scent. I shaved with it the other day and had, I'm usually a night shaver, but I had some work to do, and for a couple hours there I was just really enjoying the scent as I was not having to go right to sleep. That's one disadvantage of being a night shaver. You don't get to smell the colognes and things that you put on yourself. I've got a little pipe going on. It went out while I was preparing the pictures and stuff, but for little breaks off camera, I might do a little bit of that. We'll see. And might as well get started. I'm going to get my face wet. So I just shaved my second pass, and I think I missed hitting the button or something like that. Fortunately, I noticed it before the shave was over. I've done that before. And where you viewers are only able to see the part between the passes, you know, where I thought it was paused. Maybe it's because of the red shirt. There's a red dot on my camera, on my phone, right in the center of my finger, right there. And if I have a red shirt on, then I don't notice when it's not recording. So I just did the second pass, and the lather is starting to come together more in the brush. So we can take that you can do a roll thing to kind of circulate, and now we're definitely starting to resemble more of a mature lather. And the cool thing is, this is now the third pass, so we've still got this wonderful, luxurious, mature lather, and it's just the third pass. Cross grain. I was saying that I think I might recommend this to guys with lather issues, new guys starting out. One of my friends over on the wet shaving group tried the Slurry lather today. He said not bad. He has a short username like BS80 or BMAC80 or something like that. I don't have it memorized. It's not really a mnemonic device to help me be able to remember it, I'm afraid. Good for guys who are in a hurry. Good for guys who are new, who are having trouble with their lather. It focuses on starting with a lot of water in the brush. And the only variable then is the soap loading. You do that for long enough. Oh, look how much bigger the hole has grown now. You know, and so once you get that variable fixed in terms of the loading, and as you can see from the past shaves that I've done here, even if I started out needing to load from this soap 20 seconds, because the little bit of water stays resident here, it helps it to be easy to pick up with the next shave. And so here I am now down to 6 swirls, less than 3 seconds of loading. And I've got plenty of lather for 5 passes or more. And I just finished the 3rd pass, I think. Now I was talking to my friend Greg, and he mentioned that he does a face lathering thing that's a little bit different than my slurry lather here, but it has some of the common elements. You know, one of the things I do talk on my channel a lot about some of the disadvantages of face lathering, and I usually try to specify it's usually the overloaders who I'm kind of talking about. And first of all, if you are an overloader and you use a lot of soap per shave, well, it's your shave, isn't it? You can do what you want. But for me, I don't like that, because the more soap you put on the brush, then the more water you have to add into the mix to get to a wet, slick lather. And by the time if you've overloaded it, it's just way more lather than the brush can handle. So much of it is dripping off. Either that, or you just have to have a lather that's more on the dry side. So here's the 4th pass. Oh yeah, very easy to move the razor across. And that's one of the nice things about the quick pass technique, is that you don't really have to mess with things too much, because the razor goes over it a few times through the course of the shave. And so by the end, it's just done right. Now, Greg's method was a little bit more like the typical current trend of artisan overloading, you know. But he differed in a very crucial point. And there's one part in the conversation where I knew that he wasn't one of those overloaders, because he said he just loaded for about 10 seconds. And that's not enough time to pick up an over amount of soap. And so then I knew that he was actually more akin to the way I like to face lather, if I must face lather. Because I'm focusing on putting together basically one brush full of soap, and not trying to chock it full of soap so that I can try to get to 3 passes. Because you know what gets you to 3 passes? A wet lather. And so we've got this, and it's I just did the 4th pass. We've still got plenty of lather for pass 5, probably pass 6 as well. And a lot of face lathers don't have that. Well, Greg's not one of those. He has plenty of lather for a 3rd, 4th pass, and he showed me a picture of his brush after the 3rd pass, or maybe even the 2nd pass, and it had a nice wet lather in it. See, so he's got the wet lather down pat, which is great. And with his 10-second loading, that told me that he's not really overloading the brush. And what he's doing, and this is kind of similar to the slurry as well, is he's going with that thick paste right away to his face and giving more work time. He uses a damp brush to load, not a wet one, not a really wet one like my slurry lather. And then he takes that paste, and first I think he said he took like the froth from the tub or something and used that as kind of a pre-wash, you know. And then he took and worked the paste on his face. And then he would dip the tips of the brush in the water and then start maturing the lather on his face. And by dipping just the tips, that was his way of bringing water to his face, getting a little bit in the brush to help with the soap that was already in there, but mainly to keep the soap and water almost separate in the brush so that it would last, so that those two elements could combine with each pass and gradually give him more lather as he went. And he had enough water in the tips to where it wasn't a pasty mess that was too dry to give a good slick shave. And so it's a perfect, that's a fine way to do it. I think I'd be fine with that too. And who knows, I might try that here in Austere August. But the part was, the interesting part, with it different than some other face lathers, was he used the tips. He didn't really dribble the water into the brush. He just used the tips to dab in to get water, mix that on his face. And then once he had a thick paste going that's slightly hydrated, then he would dip more, and I could be paraphrasing a little incorrectly, but I think the general gist is along with the lines of what he told me. But the water still was just on the tips mainly, and then he would really paint his face and work that water into his thick stuff on his face. And from that point on, and I believe he had a synthetic, from that point on, he had a nice amount of lather in his brush. He could squeeze out plenty for a third or fourth pass if he needed to. And so he approached it slightly different, with more of a dry approach at first, and then adding water to build up the lather using the brush tips. And then he got to probably the same place kind of that I am here at as well. And so we've got a brush full of lather, and that was just 6 rotations, 6 swirls, and we've still left a little bit of water in there. Whew! I'm using twice as much soap as I need to, and to make it through the month on this soap, maybe I should back off. And let me get a good rinse here. All right, so we can bring in the splash now. If you have an alcohol splash that bothers your skin a little bit, sometimes there are some sterling splashes that will do that to me. I will wait 45 minutes or so after my shave, and that helps my skin to recover a little bit. I can also maybe use a product like witch hazel, Lucky Tiger, something like that, to kind of nourish my skin right after the shave, and then that means that my skin is able to have the aftershave later on. So Greg's method, definitely a valid one. And he says it's quick as well. And about the same time frame, I think, as I'm able to do with this one. And so he starts off with that richness of the lather right away, since he's more focused on the dry at first. And then he brings water into it later. That's kind of a difference there. I've got some jars of jam that I've got right here in the bathroom. Oh, those are sticky parts because of the label. I was afraid that they were starting to go bad or something, but nope. That's just the label adhesive residue from when my relative made the jam. And then we'll take the cologne here. Midnight Stag. I just do the wrists. If I do my neck, it's almost a waste, because in about 20 minutes I go nose blind to it and I can't enjoy it anymore. If I do it on my wrists, sometimes my wrists are away from my face. Sometimes I'm thinking and all of a sudden, whoo, I get a nice little blast of it right there. Sometimes I reach up, grab my glasses, get another blast of it. So it kind of lasts for hours that way. And I do enjoy that part of it. So the Nacet still just cranking away. Oh, man. Is there anything else to report today? I think maybe the only problem that there might be with if you chose on that first pass to work your lather for a little bit longer, there's not really a problem with it, I think. But it might dry out your lather a little quicker. It will use up some of the water that's in the brush a little sooner. And so then you've got, like today on the third pass, and the fourth, I had a more dry lather available to me. I still think it was wet, but it was definitely drier than the first couple of passes. And so, in a sense, that's not a big deal. You can sprinkle some water on it, dip the tips. If you want to do that, you can just splash water on your face and then go right at the working the brush on your face. I would After my little water splash between passes, I'd sometimes talk to you guys for a couple minutes, and then that would give the water a chance to dry just a hair, evaporate, and then it wouldn't contribute to the lather. So most people obviously aren't going to have that issue. So very good with the brush. Let's give it a good rinse, and then we'll do a hairdryer treatment on it. I am going to do the hairdryer treatment just gently with warm temperature and low speed. Blow the air across the tips, leaving them still slightly damp at the end, not getting them dry and crispy. And here we have it after the hairdryer treatment. I can still feel the little bit of moisture on there, just a little bit. And if you let it sit for a while, the moisture that's here in the shaft will migrate up, and it'll actually get wetter, which is a funny thing. But you can see how large the bloom is compared to when I first got it. You know, it was much more narrow, and that's just the way boar brushes work. And I want that to just open up because it gives me that nice feel. And boar brushes are just that way. They change so much when they get wet, and then they further change when they age. Oh, sorry. Had the fan going when I was using the hairdryer. Sorry about that. But we can see, let's see, can you guys see some of these tips? There, you'll be able to see some that have just really split nicely. And some, I mean, that you'll see plenty that just haven't, and that's okay. And in a way, I kind of like it because that makes me think that my method of accelerating the tip splitting with the hair dryer is not overly abusive. If some of them are still being slow and reluctant, then I'm fine with that. Oh yeah, man, there's some splits right around there. Boy. I've seen some bristles split to 5 different tips. It's got a lot of flexibility right now because of the moisture left in the bristles. And there's just nothing like a good boar brush. And these brushes that are large bore brushes, like 31, that sort of thing, have a whole different feel than the smaller ones. And I think they're both very, very valid. And for years, I did not have a big one on hand, and I'm really glad that I did get one. Whip Dog, I assume they're still in business, put out a 30 millimeter bore knot that was really quite nice. And I'd had a chance to try that one first and enjoyed it, and so that I knew that I would probably enjoy this brush, so it wasn't really a risk to buy it. I am smelling good. Midnight Stag, I like it. Maybe tomorrow, a couple things I want to try here in the next few shaves. I want to do and show you guys just a real-time shave where we get everything out. We don't pause. And then we put away everything at the end, and we can look at the clock and just say what an average or a quick slurry lather might take you in terms of time. Another thing I'm wanting to try is Greg's method. It's always fun to play around, and you never know what you're going to discover. And sometimes I'll try a method and I may not like parts of the method, but I'll learn something, and I may not like the whole method, but I'll learn something, and there'll be something I take away from it that I do enjoy. And sometimes you just learn stuff that you never would have thought because you didn't come across it because it wasn't part of your method, right? So I think we've got that in the upcoming shaves. Austere August proceeds. Hope this was helpful to you guys in some way. Take care now. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.